In previous class, I started the revision of third chapter, that is private, public and global enterprises. I already finished 1 marks and 2 marks revision. Today I am going to continue with the 4 marks question and answers revision. In 4 marks totally we have that 7 questions. Out of 7 questions, you can expect 1 question for the examination. That 1 question carries 4 marks in the examination. I will tell you that how to present the 4 marks in a examination. First question, briefly explain any 4 features of departmental undertaking. We already learned the departmental undertaking. That means the departmental undertaking established with the help of minister or ministry itself. If you are understanding the meaning, in meaning itself only we can identify the 2 or 3 feature. Here, this departmental undertaking established. Who are going to establish here? Minister. That means here we can identify the formation and the control. This departmental undertaking, the control by minister. Got it? In meaning itself only, we can identify 2 or 3 features or characteristics or nature. Let us learn or let us discuss the features of departmental undertaking. In an examination, if you are writing the points, only points, you will get it 2 marks. With explanation, 4 marks. You can also write it the starting introduction. In introduction, you can write it the meaning of departmental undertaking. That is, what is departmental undertaking? You can write it for the introduction. Next, coming to the explanation. Next heading, explanation. Here 4 features. First one, formation. These enterprises are established as a department of the minister or ministry itself. Formation means how the departmental undertaking it will going to start, or the formation word gives that meaning how to establish a particular form of business organization. Here the departmental undertaking, they are going to starting or establishing with the help of minister or ministry itself. Suppose, for example, the railway department, if they want to form as a department with the help of minister or the railway ministry itself. Second feature, we have that control. Control means who will going to control this departmental undertaking. The administration of this undertaking are directly under the control of concerned minister or ministry. In departmental undertaking, day-to-day operations are undertaken or they have under the control of minister. For a particular minister, for example, the railway department, they have that under the control of railway minister, or itself if they don't have the minister, they can manage or they can control by a ministry itself. It is control. Next we have capital. Capital means how that the departmental undertaking will going to get capital, from where they can get capital. I already explained that form of public sector enterprises. This is the government enterprises. So the capital will going to get from the government itself only. Particularly central government will going to allocate or will going to arrange the funds for to start up the departmental undertaking. Here the required capital is provided by the government in annual budget. The departmental undertaking, they will going to get funds or finance from the government. The government will going to announce the budget. Budget means in a year what is the expenditure and what is the revenue they are going to seeing, and they are going to fix put funds. It is called a capital. That means departmental undertaking will going to get the capital from the government annual budget. And fourth one, income. Suppose the railway department is operating, they are going to getting the income in every day. What they have to do? They have to deposit that income. Where they have to deposit? To the government. The government also having the particular the treasury, government treasury means it a particular department, it relating to the treasury means finance, money. The departmental undertaking, they have to deposit it what that they have earned in the daily income to the government treasury. Next we have that management, who is going to take decisions in a departmental undertaking, or who is going to managing that all the workers in departmental undertaking, that is called management. Here the management will going to undertaken in departmental undertaking by the IAS officer, Indian Administration Services, IAS officer. These officers will going to managing that entire activities in a departmental undertaking. They can take a decision in departmental undertaking, but they have to take that approval from the concerned minister. It is called management. Other than this feature, we also having staff in departmental undertaking. Those who are working as an employee or a worker, they all are government employees. These are the features of departmental undertaking. Next we have that merits of departmental undertaking. The merits we can also call it as advantages. Yeah, that first one, this ensure that high degree of public accountability. Public accountability is nothing but the departmental undertaking, they are able to answer for the public. Whatever the question has been raised, they have to answerable, because they are going to getting the income and they are offering the product for the public itself only. So that is the reason, even if that this departmental undertaking, it is a public sector enterprises, so they have to answerable, they have to accountable means answerable for a public. Second one, effective control over their operation. Here the entire business activities managed by the IAS officer. If they want to take any decision, they are going to take approval from the concerned minister. It may reduces the confusion and misunderstanding among that in the operation of activities. It may leads to effective control in the business operation. And point number 3, the income of this department should be deposited daily into government treasury. Already you have learned in that income feature, so that is the reason if you learn the features, you can able to answer the advantages also. And fourth one, this is the most suitable since the under direct control supervision of concerned minister. Already you have learned in the second feature, that is control. So if you learn that features of departmental undertaking, this we can also write it as a advantages or benefits of departmental undertaking. And next, coming to the disadvantages of departmental undertaking. First one, departmental undertaking fails to provide flexibility which is essential of smooth operation of function. In departmental undertaking, suppose the IAS officer, they want to take any decision, there is no freedom, there is no flexibility. Why? What is the reason? The IAS officer, they want to take approval from the concerned minister, so it may leads to fails in freedom or fails in provide flexibility. Second one, the departmental undertaking are not to allow take independent decision. So I already explained in the number 1 point, if they want to take a decision, it should not be final decision. They have to take a approval from the concerned minister or ministry itself. This is also one of the disadvantage in departmental undertaking. And point number 3, this enterprises is unable to take advantages of business opportunity. Just you can just see that in India, the railway department, even if that the olden days the railway, how it is like now also at present also the same railways, there is no updated, because of the government are not able to take the advantages or opportunity. If you are seeing that in outside countries like a Japan, the Japan is a very best example. If they are following the socialist economy also, socialist means they are going to giving the importance for the both private sector as well as public sector, but they are going to taking that more advantages, and they are going to giving the importance to the technology upgradation. But here there is no technology upgradation, they are only focused their powers or roles and responsibilities. Here they have that a lot of political interference in departmental undertaking, but they are not updating, or they are not able to take a market opportunity in a departmental undertaking. And fourth one, lot of political interference to the minister. In departmental undertaking you can see that a lot of political interference, like this is in departmental undertaking, the staff are government employees. If they, I want to get a job, even if that I have that qualification, but they are not able to give the job for me, because another person, they don't have a qualification. If they have given the money, corruption, or if they are familiar with a, if they have any family member, they are working in a minister office, they are going to recommend it, that is recommendation, they are going to giving the importance. They have that a lot of political interference. Understood? This is a very disadvantage in departmental undertaking. And fifth one, disorganization are usually incentive to consumer needs and to do not provide adequate services to them. I already explained this departmental undertaking, they are not able to take a market advantage or opportunity, and also they are not offering the good quality of products, and also they are not identified the customer needs and wants. This is the disadvantage of the departmental undertaking. Next we have that briefly explain that 4 features of statutory corporation. Here I have the combined the question of features and benefits or merits. Understood? The 2 question only 1 answer. You can easily able to write in an examination. Let us learn that features or benefits of statutory corporation. First feature, formation. Formation means how the how that statutory corporation are going to start. These corporations are going to start by passing the special act in the parliament. You know that parliament, in the parliament we have that Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. In Lok Sabha, all the elected members, they are sitting, they are going to passing the special act. In this act, what are that content, how, what are that information, how we have that objectives, power, scope, duties of this corporation are described in the act. In this act, it involves the rules and regulation, all that when they are going to started, are going to carrying their operation of business, they are going to following this act, rules and regulation. This is called formation. Second one, government control. These corporations are controlled by government. It may be state government or central government. Both the government, they are responsible for profit or losses. And point number 3, management. The day-to-day administration is taken up by, or decision is taken up by the board of directors in statutory corporations. This board of director, they are elected from the government. It may be state government or central government. Next, financial autonomy. Financial autonomy means whether the statutory corporation, they are going to getting the funds or capital, and also this statutory corporation, they are enjoying the separate legal entity. Separate legal entity means it is separated from the owners and business. That means this corporation, they can do the property in their own name, they can take the loan even if that they are responsible, and they can put the case against that parties. Understood? It is called separate legal entity. The statutory corporation, they are financial, having the freedom power, they can borrow the funds from the public itself only. It not depending only the government budget. They are not going to depending the government budget, they can get a funds from the public itself only. It is called financial autonomy. And next one, liability. These corporations are liable to answer for that in the parliament. Suppose in a 1 year KSRTC, 1 year it run that business activities, whatever that 1 year, whether that profit or loss, why that profit, they are able to answer in the parliament. It may be state legislature or central government. It is called liability. Other than this feature, we have that staff. Those who are working in a statutory corporation, they are not government employee, but in departmental undertaking, they all are government employee. But in statutory corporation, they all are not government employees. Next, coming to the limitations of statutory corporations. First one, government and political interference. In both or in public sector enterprises, you can just, the one disadvantage for all that similar is political interference, and the decision should be taken by the board of director, and where huge funds are involved. If you want to start a statutory corporation, it requires huge amount of capital. This is a disadvantage. Second one, whether they dealing with the public corruption exists. This is also the second, similar to in a public sector enterprises. When we call it as a public sector enterprises, there should be a political interference. Second thing is common feature, common disadvantage is corruption. And point number 3, the government has a practice of appointing advisory to the corporation. It comes the freedom. That means the government will going to appointing that advisory committee to the statutory corporation. There itself only the statutory corporation, they are losing their freedom. This advisory committee, what they will do, they are going to giving the suggestion to the statutory corporation, why you are getting a losses, why, what is the reason. This corporation, this advisory committee, what they will do, they will give a suggestion to improve the profit, or they are going to give a suggestion to overcome from the losses. So this may leads to the losing of freedom of a statutory corporation. And fourth one, delay in decision making. If they want to take any decision by the board of director, the board of director has to take approval from the government. It may lead to delay in decision making. This is the limitations of statutory corporations. And last form of in public sector, we have the government companies. The government companies, here the first features of government company, next merits of government company, and limitations of government company. Let us discuss the features of government company. First one, formation. That means how it will start. Keep it in mind, the formation means how it will start. The government company will start the following the Act of Companies Act 2013, or earlier it was Companies Act 1956. Second one, separate entity. This government company having the separate legal entity, that is it is separated from the owners and management. And third one, government audit. Whatever that activities has taken with a government company, at the end of year, they are going to making that audit. The audit will taken up by the government accounts officer. These officers will going to check whether that all the transaction is correct or what. They are going to giving the report to that government company. Financial autonomy. This corporation, how they're going to get the capital, that means government company, they are not depending to the government. The statutory corporation and government company, they are not going to get a capital from the government, they are going to getting the funds from the public. This government company, they are going to getting the capital by issuing the shares to the public. And fifth one, the company can enter into contract and can acquire the property in their own name. That means it is called separate legal entity. You can write it any 4 features in the examination, you will get it 4 marks. And next, merits of government company. The first merit is all that rules and regulation is prescribed in the act itself only. The government company, it does not require special act to pass in the parliament. Whatever that, if they want to start that government company, they can easily follow the rules and regulation. It is prescribed in the Companies Act 2013. And second advantage, it has separate legal entity. already I explained, separate legal entity. And third one, it enjoys autonomy in all management decision. The government company no need to depend on any government. The government interference is a lot of less in decision making, so it have the freedom in a decision making. And fourth one, this company is providing goods and services at reasonable price. The government company, what they are producing a product that will be very good quality of products and also with a reasonable cost. The customer will more preferring for the government company products. This is called merits of government companies. Next we have that limitations of government company. Limitations means disadvantages of government companies. Since the government is only the shareholder in some of the companies, the provisions of the Companies Act does not have much relevance. Even the government company as issuing the shares, the shareholder has to give the suggestion and they are going to giving the feedback to that government company. Then what is the purpose of behind following the rules and regulation? Yes or no? So here Companies Act much or does not much influences in the government company. And second one, we have that the constitutional responsibility which finance the government should have. That means when we call it as a government company, the government company should have that invest the company. Then what is the reason purpose they are going to issuing the capital or issuing the shares to the public? So it is also disadvantage. And next, it is not answerable directly to the parliament. Like same that the departmental undertaking, like the government company also, they are not able to answerable to the parliament regarding to their business operation or business activities. And fourth one, the government being sole sharer and the management hands of the government. Even if the board of director, they are going to take a decision, but the board of director want to take approval from the government. So sole shareholder or management administration rest of the hands in the government. All that decision are the government eyes in the government company. So that is the reason these are the disadvantage or limitations or demerits of government companies. In the next class, I'm going to continue with the features of global enterprises. Thank you and prepare well. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಮೋಟಿವೇಶನಲ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ, ತಾಯಿಯೇ ಮೊದಲ ದೇವರು ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಅಂದರೆ ತಾಯಿಗಿಂತ ಮಿಗಿಲಾದವರು ಅಂದರೆ ದೊಡ್ಡವರು ಅಥವಾ ದೇವರಿಗಿಂತ ತಾಯಿಯೇ ದೊಡ್ಡವರು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಏಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ತಾಯಿ ತನ್ನ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಬುದ್ಧಿಗಳನ್ನು ಹಾಗೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ಫಿಲಾಸಫರ್ ಗೈಡರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೊನೆಯ ತನಕ ಒಬ್ಬ ಮಗುವಿನ ಲೈಫಲ್ಲಿ ತಾಯಿ ಒಂದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ರೋಲ್ನ ಪ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ತಾಯಿ ಅಂದರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಇಷ್ಟ. ಈ ತಾಯಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಈ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಎಕ್ಸಲೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಕೇಳಿ. ಒಂದು ಊರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ. ಅವನಿಗೆ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟು, ತುಂಬ ದುಡ್ಡು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಅವನ ಒಂದು ಏಮ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗಿ ಮೀಟಿಂಗು ಅದು ಇದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ತುಂಬ ಬ್ಯುಸಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಅವರ ತಾಯಿನ ಅನಾಥಾಶ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇರಿಸಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಅವನನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಪಾಪ ತುಂಬ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ಗೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಅವರ ತಾಯಿಯನ್ನು ಅನಾಥಾಶ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸೇರಿಸಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಇದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವು ದಿನಗಳಾದ ನಂತರ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಓ ನಾಳೆ ನಮ್ಮ ತಾಯಿಯ ಬರ್ತಡೇ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. ಹಾಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅದೇ ದಿನದಂದು ಅವನಿಗೆ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪರ್ಸನಲ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಗ ಇವನು ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ಅಮ್ಮ ನಾನು ನಾಳೆ ಬರೋದಕ್ಕಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ನಿಮಗೆ ನಾನು ಎವ್ರಿ ಇಯರು ಏನು ಸೆಲೆಬ್ರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ನೋ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾನು ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗ್ಲೂ ತಲುಪಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಮ್ಮ ಹೇಳ್ತಾಳೆ, ಮಗ ನೀನು ಬರದೇ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಏನೂ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ, ನೀನು ನಿನ್ನ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ನ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊ, ನೀನು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರು ಅಂತ ತಾಯಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾಳೆ. ನೋಡಿ, ತಾಯಿಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಮಕ್ಕಳು ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಸಾಕು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಯೂಶ್ವಲ್ ಅವನು ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಆಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಆ ದಿನ ತುಂಬಾ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಇವನೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಬರ್ತಡೇ ನಾಳೆ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಒಂದು ಗಿಫ್ಟ್ ಶಾಪ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ ಕಾರಲ್ಲಿ. ಆ ಗಿಫ್ಟ್ ಶಾಪಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯ ಗಿಫ್ಟ್ಗಳಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಇವನು ನೋಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಆ ಗಿಫ್ಟ್ ಶಾಪ್ ಓನರ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇವನು ನೋಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಓ ಇವನು ದೊಡ್ಡ ರಿಚ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಇರಬೇಕು, ರೇಟ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಡಬ್ಬಲ್ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು, ಅಂದರೆ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಡಬ್ಬಲ್ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಇವನು ಅದು ಆ ಗಿಫ್ಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ರೀ ಅಂತಾನೆ. ಅವನು ಸರ್ ತುಂಬ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಸರ್, ಒಂದು $50 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. $50 ಅಷ್ಟೇನಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಹೌದು ಸರ್, ಆಯಿತು. ಮತ್ತು ಇದಿಷ್ಟು ರೀ, ನಮ್ಮ ತಾಯಿಯವ್ರಿಗೆ ಚಸ್ಮಾ ಬೇಕಿತ್ತು, ಇದೆಯಾ ಚಸ್ಮಾ ಗಿಫ್ಟ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಿತ್ತು, ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಇದೆ. ಎಷ್ಟು ರೀ ಅದು? ಸರ್ ಇದೇನಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, $25 ಆಯಿತು, ಅದನ್ನು ಪ್ಯಾಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅವರ ತಾಯಿಯವ್ರಿಗೆ ರೋಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಇಷ್ಟ, ಅಂದರೆ ಹೂಗಳಂದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬ ಇಷ್ಟ. ಇವನೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಒಂದು ಬಂಚ್ ಆಫ್ ರೋಸ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ಡ್ ರೋಸಸ್ನ ಒಂದು ಬಂಚ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಎಲ್ಲ ರೋಸಸ್ನ ಬಂಚ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಬೊಕ್ಕೆ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಎಷ್ಟು ರೀ ಕಾಸ್ಟು? ಇದೇನಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, $100 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. $100 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಸರ್, ಏನಾಯಿತು ಅಂತ? ಇಷ್ಟು ಕಡಿಮೆನಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಅವನ ಹತ್ರ ತುಂಬ ದುಡ್ಡಿದೆ, ಆ ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಖರ್ಚು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿ, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಅವನಿಗೆ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಆ ದುಡ್ಡಿನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ. ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅಂಗಡಿಯವನು ಏನು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಯಲ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ಗಿನ್ನ ಡಬಲ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಹಾಕ್ತಾ, ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಒಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ಡೆಲಿವರಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಿತ್ತಲ್ವ, ನನಗೆ ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಕಾರ್ ಡ್ರೈವರ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ದರೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. ಗೊತ್ತು ಸರ್ ನನಗೇನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ದೆ ಅವನು. ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, ಸರ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು $200 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್, ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ದ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ದ, ನನಗೆ ನಾಳೆ ನಮ್ಮ ತಾಯಿಯವ್ರ ಬರ್ತಡೇ ಇದೆ, ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಅವರ ಆ ಟೈಮ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಡೆಲಿವರಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅಮೌಂಟೆಲ್ಲ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆ ಶಾಪಿಂದ ಮೆಟ್ಲು ಇಳಿತಾ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ. ಮೆಟ್ಲು ಇಳಿದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಮಗು ಅಳ್ತಾ ಕೂತಿರ್ತಾಳೆ. ಇವನಿಗೆ ಅದು ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಅನ್ನಿಸ್ತೋ ಏನೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಆ ಮಗು ಹತ್ರ ಹೋಗಿ, ಯಾಕಮ್ಮ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ, ಯಾಕೆ ಪುಟ್ಟಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ದ. ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ರೆಡ್ ರೋಸ್ ಬೇಕಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಯಾರಿಗಮ್ಮ ರೆಡ್ ರೋಸು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ತಾಯಿಯವ್ರಿಗೆ ರೆಡ್ ರೋಸ್ ಬೇಕಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಆ ಮಗುನ ಇವನಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ರೆಡ್ ರೋಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಕೊಡಿಸ್ಬಿಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕೈ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಶಾಪ್ಗೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ಬಂಚಸ್ ಆಫ್ ರೋಸಸ್ಸು, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ರೋಸಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ರೋಸಸ್ಸು ಅಂಗಡಿಗೆ ಎಂಟರ್ ಆಗಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಓಡೋಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಕಾರ್ನರಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಡ್ ರೋಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ರೆಡ್ ರೋಸ್ನ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾಳೆ. ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಅಂಗಡಿಯಿಂದ ಓಡೋಡಿ ಬರ್ತಾಳೆ. ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನು ನಾನು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. ಆ ಹುಡುಗಿನ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಆ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಓಡಿ ಇವನು ಕೂಡ ಅವನ್ನ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಓಡೋಗಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ಸಿಟಿಯ ಔಟ್ಸೈಡು ಆ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾಳೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇವನು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊ ಓಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ದಾಳೆ ಆ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ, ಆ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಆ ಸಿಟಿಯ ಔಟ್ಸೈಡಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಮಶಾನ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಸ್ಮಶಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಅವರ ತಾಯಿ ನೆನ್ನೆಯಷ್ಟೇ ತೀರ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾಳೆ. ಆ ತಾಯಿ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ಲು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನನ್ನ ಸತ್ತಾದ ಮೇಲೆ ನೀನು ಮೊದಲನೇ ದಿನ ನನಗೆ ರೆಡ್ ರೋಸ್ನ ನನ್ನ ಇದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ನೀವು ಇಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾಳೆ. ಪಾಪ ಆ ಹುಡುಗಿಗೆ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿ ಯಾರೂ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ತೀರ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರು. ಹಾಗೆ ಆ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಅಮ್ಮ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ಲು, ಆ ರೆಡ್ ರೋಸ್ನ ತಂದು ಇಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಆ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಆ ರೆಡ್ ರೋಸ್ನ ಆ ಸ್ಮಶಾನದ ಮೇಲೆ ಇಡ್ತಾಳೆ. ಇವನಿಗೆ ನೋಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅಳು ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ತಾಯಿ ಇಲ್ದಿರೋರಿಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ತಾಯಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಇರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನನಗೆ ತಾಯಿ ಇದ್ದರೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಯಾಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ತಾಯಿಗೆ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಆ ಮಗುನ ಇವನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಆ ಮಗುನ ಸಾಕ್ತಾನೆ. ಇಮ್ಮಿಡಿಯೇಟಾಗಿ ಅವನು ಏನು ಆರ್ಡ್ರ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದ ಅವರ ತಾಯಿಯವರ ಬರ್ತಡೆಗೆ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಇವನೇ ಸ್ವತಃ ಪರ್ಸನಲಾಗಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಆ ತಾಯಿಗೆ ಗಿಫ್ಟ್ಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಬರ್ತ್ಡೇ ಸೆಲೆಬ್ರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಇವನು ಆ ತಾಯಿನ ತಪ್ಪಿಕೊಂಡು ಹತ್ತು ಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಅಮ್ಮ, ನೀನು ನನ್ನ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ವಯಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೇರಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೆ, ನಾನು ದೊಡ್ಡವನಾದಮೇಲೆ ನಿನಗೆ ಈ ಥರ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಆ ತಾಯಿನ ಅನಾಥಾಶ್ರಮದಿಂದ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ ಮನೆಗೆ. ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಇದರ ಮಾರಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನಾವು ಚಿಕ್ಕವರಿದ್ದಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ತಾಯಿ ಆಗಲಿ ಮದರ್ ಆಗಲಿ ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ದೊಡ್ಡವರು ಆಗ್ತಾ ದೊಡ್ಡವ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ನ ಇಗ್ನೋರ್ ಮಾಡೋದಾಗಲಿ, ಆಪೋಸಿಟ್ ಮಾತಾಡೋದಾಗಲಿ ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ನ ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕೇರಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅವರು ಪಟ್ಟಿರುವಂಥ ಕಷ್ಟ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಏನಾದರೂ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಆ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಅವರು ಕೊಡಿಸ್ದಾಗ ಅವರು ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ತಂದರು ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ನ ಕೊಡಿ, ಹಾಗೆ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ನ ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಈ ಕಥೆಯನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.